Okay, today we're going to do some rounding to decimal places. Now hopefully you're already familiar with how to round to, say, the nearest whole number or the nearest 10 or the nearest 100. And really this is just the same skill, although we're talking about higher degrees of accuracy because we're into decimal places. So I'm just going to do some examples and point out a few special cases. So I'm going to start with rounding to one decimal place. Rounding to one decimal place is really the same as saying rounding to the nearest tenth. And that might be helpful. So 0.732, we want to round to one decimal place. So 0.732 is between two one decimal place numbers. It's between 0.7 and the next one decimal place number is 0.8. So if you think of a scale which has got 0.7 and 0.8, 0.732 will be around there. 0.75 would be the halfway point. So it's going to be nearer to 0.7. So to one decimal place, we are going to round that to 0.7. Now drawing a diagram and drawing a scale can be helpful, but you probably won't need to most of the time. So let's look at how we can do these without drawing a scale, but if you find it helpful, you can always go and draw one. So 29.47, we're rounding this to one decimal place, so we know it's going to be between 29.4 and 29.5. Because this next digit is 5 or greater, we actually know it's nearer to 29.5. So this one decimal place, first decimal place, goes up to 5 from 4. Sometimes the numbers might be quite long, but we're just interested in this first decimal place here. So we're going to chop it off after one decimal place. So we look at this 9 in the next position, and we know that's greater than 5. So this one is going to round to 9.1. The next one is a special case. If we look at this, this is the first decimal place, the 10th column. So we look at the 7, that's greater than 5, so it's going to round up. But of course the next number after 9 is a 10. You can't have a 10 in one column. So this has a knock-on effect, and the 10 will carry on to the next column. So this will be 13.0. Now even though this 0 has no value, it's important that we write that in because we've rounded to one decimal place, and so all of these numbers when rounded should have one decimal place, even if it's a 0, so we need to keep that on. Rounding to two decimal places is the same process, but this time think about my scale. 0.732 will be between 0.73 to two decimal places and 0.74. So if you imagine a scale like that, 0.735 would be the halfway point. So 0.732 would be around there somewhere. So it's nearer to 0.73. So once again, the scale idea is quite helpful. What we're doing here is we're round to two decimal places. So another way to describe this will be the nearest hundredth. So the next one, that's the second decimal place. So we look at the next digit to help us. So that's going to round 33.44 because 7 is greater than 5. The next one, this is an unusual one. I've picked this one specially, 0.001. So that's the second decimal place. And so we're going to look at this number here. That's less than 5. So actually this one is going to round to 0.00, which sounds very odd because it's got no value. But this number rounded to two decimal places would be 0.00. So that's an unusual example. The last one here, 14.996. This is the second decimal place where we're rounding to. So we'll look at the next digit. So that's going to make the 9 go on to into the next column. This is also a 9, so that's going to the next column again. So I have this knock-on effect, and that's going to end up being 15.00. Once again, it's unusual, but we must put these 2 zeros in to show we've rounded it to 2 decimal places.